What are you cooking today, Miss Martha? I'm making chicken fried steak, creamed potatoes, and crispy greens. It's a southern recipe, a classic family favorite, but I've got a vegan twist going on it here. So it's zero trans fat, zero cholesterol, and I'm using dandelion greens, which I've never really used that often, but my husband does love them because they're high in vitamin K, which is good for your brain cells and prevention of Alzheimer's. He get a little up there, so we gotta help him remember where he keeps losing his keys at. Let's get into the ingredients. For my chicken fried steak, for the steak portion of it, we're using plant-based protein. I have sausage and I have beef. That's about almost 3 cups worth. I'm going to be using black beans as well. When I drain off the liquid, I'm going to set that aside because the beans are going to go in with the meat to make the patties. But the liquid, I'm also going to drain off the liquid of a small jar of pimentos and a small can of green chilies. That liquid I warm up in the microwave, and I will add 2 packets of the flaxseed because that's going to be our egg substitute that's going to go in, because you're going to kind of make your patty like a little meatloaf patty for the chicken fried steak portion of it. So once I have all of that assembled together, I'm going to add in a little bit of breadcrumbs and a little bit of, where's my coconut milk here? My coconut milk. A little bit of onion powder, garlic powder, and salt and pepper. We will mix that all together so it's got the consistency of a meatball. We'll flatten it out flat. Then we will dip it in some more, a little saucer with some coconut milk in it, so it'll be wet on each side. And I'll have a little bowl that's got some brown rice flour and a little bit of salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder in that. We will coat it on both sides with that, and I'm going to go over there to the skillet with some avocado oil on the bottom of it, and I'm going to brown off each side of it, and I'm going to remove them from the skillet, and then I'm going to make the sauce for the chicken fried steak. I'm going to be using, I have some shiitake and some baby bella mushrooms, a sweet onion, peppers. So I've got like 2 cups of mushrooms, 1 cup each of the onions and peppers, because I'm going to have to dice those, prep those up. They'll go in with a little bit of the minced garlic, which is, where did I set that? It's right here somewhere. Here it is. I hate peeling real garlic. Anyway, a little bit of the minced garlic. We will brown those off. We will remove those from the skillet, and then we will be adding in a little bit of the Worcestershire sauce and the vegan bouillon concentrate. Scrape up all the goodness from the bottom. We'll add a little bit of our, where's the milk at? A little bit of the coconut milk into that, till I've got a gravy. It's going to make a beautiful looking gravy. You'll see in a little bit. And we will put back in the meat. Then we will put back in the vegetables on top of that. And we'll set that aside and just let that simmer. Before we have actually started with that, we're going to have to get our potatoes on. That's going to be the first thing we're going to do. I've got some lovely russet potatoes here. I'm going to peel those down and chop those into like 1-inch cubes, because the smaller they're cut up, the faster they will boil. And they will boil in just water with a little bit of salt. Enough water to cover them in the pot, and a little bit of salt, and they'll boil for about 45 minutes until they're fork tender. We'll drain off the liquid from that, and we will add some of our plant-based milk and our plant-based butter and a little bit of salt and pepper. And I've got my electric mixer over here somewhere. We're going to cream the potatoes, okay? But before I do that, I got to get the greens in the oven. Here are the spinach greens and beautiful dandelion greens, which are high in vitamin K. We're going to rinse those off. They're already wet from where the irrigation system was going off in Harris Teeter when I was buying them. So they're already a little damp from that, but I'm going to rinse them and pat them dry. And I have my baking sheet here. I'm going to spread them out single layer on the baking sheet. And I'm going to put a little of the avocado oil on top of them. And sprinkle a little bit of the raw sugar, the raw salt, and they're going to go in the oven at 300 degrees, and we're just going to let them bake off for about 20 minutes until they're crispy, and we'll cut them off and set them aside. And that's kind of how I make kale chips or green chips, or for us it's going to be crispy. You know, in the South, making greens, we used to boil them for 2 hours with ham hocks and stuff in that. That's why we all got high cholesterol today, I think. So this is a healthier way of doing the greens. So to get started here, I'm going to have to peel my potatoes, get those over to boil. I'm going to go ahead and rinse the greens, get those spread out and sauced, and I'm going to mix up the meat. So we'll pick back up in just a few minutes. You go get yourself a cup of coffee. Now remember, it's chicken fried steak, creamed potatoes, and crispy greens. That's what's on the menu today, and it's all vegan, and it's tasty, and it's good for you. I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, only thing I've got done so far, greens are ready. But we're going to set those aside. They're not going in the oven yet. All right, I had 5 large potatoes. They've been peeled and cut into hunks, and they're going to, I've just been covered enough water to cover them, and they're going to go on the stove. They've got 1 teaspoon of salt in here, and they're going to boil for about 40 minutes until they're fork tender, and we'll use about a 1/3 cup of our coconut milk and 2 sticks of butter, and add a little bit more salt and pepper, and cream them up with the electric mixer right before we're ready to eat dinner. Don't do them too early because you want everything to be nice and warm on the plate when the family gets in the door to eat dinner. So we'll pick back up, and I'm going to make the vegetables chopped up over here. Okay, to recapitulate, I've got the potatoes boiling just with a little water, salt on those on the stove top. I've got the greens have been rinsed, patted dry. They're spread out on a baking sheet. They've got a little sugar, a little salt on top of those, but they're not in the oven yet. They'll go in later. And now I've got the vegetables, the green peppers, the onions, and the mushrooms have been diced, and that's going to be the part could give a little crunch to the gravy of the chicken fried steak. So I'm going to set those aside. Then we're going to get to the star of the show. Let's get to the plant-based protein to make you think it's steak. Give me a second. Okay, I have drained off the black beans and the chilies and a little pimentos, and you don't get much. I'm going to have to add water to make it up to the 1/2 cup mark, and then we're going to put this in the microwave for about 45 seconds, let that warm up, and we're going to add 3.4 ounce packs of the flax seed, because that's going to be our egg substitute in our meatloaf based chicken fried steak that we're working on here for our vegan meatless Monday. So give me a second to warm up the water and add in the flax seed, and we'll pick back up. Okay. It's going to be our egg substitute. It's our flax seed, and with our liquid from our canned ingredients plus a little bit of water. We're going to let this set aside so it'll thicken up. While we're waiting on that, we'll go ahead and dump the contents of our can. Or jars. It's a cute little jar of pimentos. Get it all out of there. Okay. We're going to use our fork. We're going to try to mash the beans. Then we're going to add in the meat. So we'll pick back up. Let's add in our plant-based protein. I'm going to show you what the sausage looks like if you haven't used this one before. It's got a meat vibe to it. That's your sausage. And let's open up the beef. Sometimes he's a little bit runny, so do it over your counter so it doesn't drip on the floor. Or chihuahua. Don't drip on a chihuahua. Got this side of it too. Okay, looks more like hamburger meat, doesn't it? I'm gonna finish opening that up, mix that together, and then we'll come back with the seasoning. In the spirit of Miss Martha's favorite summer movie, when he goes, we gonna need a big bowl. Well, Miss Martha gonna need a big bowl. I'll be right back. It really doesn't have much taste to it right now. Some people are used to it, the true diehard vegans, and they can eat it like this. But I got to add me some spice to it, so it's gonna taste more like chicken fried steak. So let's add in our flax seed, our egg substitute. Get to the seasoning. We're going to do 2 tablespoons Worcestershire sauce. 1, 2. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of the vegetable bouillon. 1, 2. Yes, dry spoon. Got garlic powder here. We're going to go with 1, 2 tablespoons of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of black pepper. 1 teaspoon of salt. We're going to get that mixed up, and then we're going to get it the consistency that I want, we're going to see how wet or moist it is. I'm going to have to add some milk and some breadcrumbs. So I'll do this, save time, I'll do this off camera. It's also messy, I got to get in there with my hands, and I won't have a clean finger to pause the camera. I'll be right back. Okay, we're at the stage now. We're going to go ahead and cut the oven on 325 and put our crispy greens in the oven, and then we're going to come in here, and I wanted to show you. You wouldn't know that that's not hamburger meat to make meatballs or meatloaf or chicken fried steak right now. Looks like beef, doesn't it? I'll be right back. Let me cut the oven on. Okay, I'm going to portion out right now. So every little steak patty will be the same with my ice cream scoop here. Then we'll flatten them, dip them in some of the coconut milk, and then our flour mixture. Let me get this part done now. Okay, we're going to use about 1.5 cups of brown rice flour, 1/2 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1/2 tablespoon onion powder, 1/4 tablespoon of salt, 1/4 tablespoon of pepper. Mix that together. Put this out of the way in case I have to make more of it up. I've got on this plate over here, you can't tell because it's a white plate, a white thing, I have some coconut milk on the plate. What we're going to do is we're going to take our chicken fried steak, or plant-based protein, we're going to flatten it slightly so it's like a little hamburger patty. Okay? We're going to dip in the milk, dip in the milk, dip in the flour, dip in the flour, pat it back into shape, and set it aside because then we're going to take it over to our avocado oil and fry it in a minute. I'm going to do this off camera though because my videos run so long. So we're going to repeat the process 23 more times. Okay, these are going to be our chicken fried steak, and we'll take them over to the stove now. I'll meet you over there off the camera. Hold on. Okay, our potatoes are fork tender, so I've turned those off. Our greens are in the oven. They're crisping up, and we're going to fry the steaks up now with plant-based protein steaks, and then we'll move them off into our lasagna type pan. Then we'll saute the vegetables, and then we'll sprinkle those on top of the chicken fried steak, and then we'll make our gravy in the pan, pour that on top, and we'll let it stay in the oven to warm while the greens are continuing to crispen, and we'll cream the potatoes. And then Bob's your uncle, dinner's ready. I'm just waiting for my avocado oil to heat up here. Okay. I'm not going to do more than 4 at a time in the pan because they're fragile. I don't want them to fall apart. We're going to brown them for about 1 minute on each side. Now remember, this is plant-based protein, so it's not like E. coli hamburger meat. It's going to finish cooking in the oven. So we'll pick back up in a minute. Okay, we'll go ahead and remove these from the pan. Put our next batch in. Give me a little assembly line going here. Once I get the vegetables browned off as well, and I'm adding in my ingredients to make my gravy, I'm going to use the broth, or the pot liquor we call it, from the potatoes. So don't drain your potatoes yet and throw that liquid away, because you're going to use your plant-based milk and your plant-based butter to cream your potatoes. But I want to save this liquid to make my gravy. We'll pick back up after Miss Martha's got all the chicken fried steaks fried off in avocado oil. No cholesterol. Okay, our vegetables are going in. We'll saute those off, and then we'll put those in the pan on top of the chicken fried steak. I'm just going to show you that my greens are ready. I'm going to take those out the oven. So right now the potatoes are ready to be creamed. The greens are crispy, and we're still working on the topping for the chicken fried steak. Okay. A couple of the onions are done. We're going to remove those. Put those over here. Off camera, maybe. On camera. Let's see how long it takes to drop them out. Yeah. That's good. Spread those out now. I'm going to drain the water off of my potatoes. Degrade my pan with it. We'll pick back up. We'll add in our seasoning to the gravy. All right, let's add in our seasoning to the gravy for our chicken fried steak. I'm going to go with 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire. 1, 2. 2 tablespoons of the plant-based. Yeah, I didn't think I had enough left in this jar. Just 1. Second one of the plant-based bouillon. Ugh. Ugh. Arthritis hands. There we go. Woo. Second take. Let that melt through. Put that in the refrigerator. Save that for another day. 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. Let's get a clean spoon. Tablespoon garlic powder. So it's the same seasoning profile that went through the meat. 1 tablespoon onion powder. Just a little bit of salt now because we already had salt in the potatoes and we had salt in the half a teaspoon there. Half a teaspoon there into the plant protein. That's stirred up. If we can let it simmer a little bit to thicken up. We've got a little cheat in here because we used the water from the potatoes. It's already starch in it, so it should thicken up nicely. And I shouldn't have to add any flour slurry. But you know, you take 2 tablespoons of flour, 1 teaspoon of water, mix it together till it's a liquid, a paste, and you can add that in, and you can thicken up any of your sauces that you're making. I'll pause the camera. We'll give this about 5 minutes to thicken up. Then we'll pour it over our chicken fried steak. Okay, we're going to pour our gravy. Look how thick that did nicely over our chicken fried steak here. Turn that burner off. Put this out of the way. In the oven. Okay, my oven's still at 325 where I had the greens in it. Need the rice, flour, and we're going to go cream the potatoes. So by the time we finish creaming the potatoes, the chicken fried steak should have heated all the way through and we're ready to serve. Hang in there. All right, last thing is to cream the potatoes, but now you know we've already drained those when we would do, so they've kind of cooled off a little bit. So I need to heat up my butter and my milk before I cream the potatoes. This is room temperature. This was our plant-based butter. So I might call it butter, but it's not butter. It's plant-based butter. To that we're going to add 3 tablespoons of our plant-based milk. 1, 2, 3. Put this over the microwave. Let this warm up, and we'll pick back up. Okay, let's cream the potatoes. I know y'all love the hand mixer, don't you? You don't mind the kitchen. All right, this is gonna take a few minutes, so let's save time on the video. All right, let's retrieve the chicken fried steak out the oven so we can show you the full menu here. Be right back. All right, we've got our chicken fried steak topped with onions, peppers, and mushrooms. We've got our creamed potatoes made with plant-based butter and milk. And we've got our crispy greens. So that's it for today. My husband, I'm sure he's on his way home already. He can smell it from the tunnel coming through up from Cape Charles. And he's excited about what he's got for dinner tonight. And tomorrow night, the next night too. Yep, that's how Miss Martha cooks. If I cook enough, if I plan ahead, and he's never complained about leftovers because it's so good, he's excited about it the next day too. He thinks about it all day long until he come back and eat it again. So that's, I got to keep her there, which it's almost been 34 years. So yeah, I know that. That way I have time that I can play with the chihuahuas tomorrow. I can work on my painting the next day. So God bless you. Thank you for watching. Stay safe this summer. Use your sunscreen and eat vegan when you can. Meatless Monday is the easiest way to incorporate it. If you didn't tell your family that this was a vegan menu, they wouldn't know. They're not going to know the difference. I promise you. I promise you.